Hello, gorgeous soul. I'm Diane Bell, and this is the Aim from the Heart podcast, your weekly dose of tips, techniques, strategies, and inspiration to help you live a life beyond your wildest dreams. If you're ready to use the art of intentional manifestation to create more freedom, more joy, more abundance, and more bliss in your life, you are in the right place. Grab a cup of tea, pull up a chair, and let's have some fun. I am so glad you're here today. Let's do this. Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to episode 6 of the Aim from the Heart podcast. This is not the episode that I had planned to share today, but what has happened this week has made me decide to re-record the episode and save the one that I had recorded for another time, because obviously this week a lot has unfolded in our world and it feels like a pretty dark time for a lot of people. So it just felt like there was something else that should be said today and something else that should be shared. I just want to start this by saying that if you or your family or friends are directly affected by the violence that's unfolded in Israel-Palestine this week, my heart is with you, and I'm praying every day for peace and for healing and for our evolution to a world in which this just doesn't happen. Even if you aren't directly affected, I think there's very few of us who aren't feeling some sadness or heaviness or density around what is happening in our world with the Ukraine still ongoing and the climate collapse. And it can feel like the news is just one terrible thing after another, and people can start to feel a lack of hope, fear, a lot of anxiety about where the world is going. And what I wanted to talk about today is really the importance now for all of us to double down on being the light and on staying in the light and connecting with the light. There's no doubt that our planet is going through a shift at the moment. The frequency of the planet is actually rising, the frequency of planet Earth. And there's a massive transition happening in humanity, in our way of being on this planet. Now, anything that is birthed new, it never comes easy. If you've given birth to a baby, you know it's pretty intense and pretty painful and pretty violent in order to bring a new being into this world. And it can be like that. And definitely I feel like that's what we're seeing as we go through this transition. The shadow is being drawn out. The simmering darkness that has been held under is arising. We are seeing it. We are seeing it all around. And it's going to continue like this. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better, to be honest. But I do believe that what we are heading to is more light. Sometimes people get despairing about the state of the world, like, oh, it's all going to hell and things are just getting worse and oh my gosh. And first of all, I always say to people like that, I'm like, do you actually read history? Have you ever read history? Are you aware of what mankind has been through for the last couple thousand years and what suffering and torture and torment we have created on this beautiful planet of ours? I come from Scotland, and the history of Scotland, my gosh. I mean, the witch hunts and the witch trials over the last couple hundred years. So much suffering. I can't believe people used to be executed in town squares, tortured in public for actually just healing people with plants. And they would be tortured in public and burnt at a stake. I mean, my goodness, it can't get worse than that. And so here we are, and I always go like, look, there's progress. We don't do that anymore. And yes, progress is not always as fast as we would like, and we still have ways to go, as we would all agree. But the world is getting better. And I feel like in this moment, as we're going through this transition, one of the big things that's happening is the reawakening of the feminine and of the sacred feminine. And after thousands of years of the patriarchy, this is an essential thing that needs to happen in order for our world to come into balance. So for thousands of years now, we have been in a system, living under systems in the Western world, in which the masculine is up on this pedestal. The masculine is the creator, is the god, and the goddess has been nowhere to be seen, which is kind of crazy because going back pre-Judeo-Christian traditions,
we had all around the world the goddess being celebrated, the mother, the great cosmic mother. And the patriarchy has just like completely destroyed this and brought us into this world in which the masculine is seen as the creative force, the masculine is seen as the superior force, the masculine is seen as the better force, and the feminine is weak and small and to be trampled on and ignored. And it's this that has led us really to this situation that we find ourselves in now, with the desecration of our Mother Earth, with the violence that still goes on. This is all part of the patriarchy. This is all part of this dominant masculine energy. So right now what we are experiencing is this rise, this reawakening of the feminine. And I think this is the most extraordinary time to be alive. And I feel like if you are alive right now, and especially if you're listening to this right now, it's for a reason. You incarnated into this planet in this moment for a reason. You're listening to these words for a reason. It's not by chance that you just put this on today and you're listening to this. And I'm sure maybe there's some people that are listening to this and they're thinking, what is Diane talking about? And they're turning off. And there's other people who are saying, oh my gosh, yes, this is it. This is true. So if you are with me, you'll know right now the feminine is reawakening. And what needs to happen in order for our earth to heal, in order for us to ascend into a balanced world, is for the feminine to be honored and to be seen as equal, for us to venerate Mother Earth as we do the God, the great creator in the sky, but also venerate our Gaia, our Mother Earth, and to bring the feminine into balance. And that's a world in which we honor intuition, we honor emotion, we honor feeling, we honor softness and gentleness and listening, we honor receiving. We honor this gentler way of being in the world in a way that we just haven't. And so if you're hearing that calling, I just want to say you're in the right place, because this really is so much of what my work is about and my life is about now, is really how we honor this and how we bring this into balance. First of all, in ourselves, because so many of us, without even knowing it, without realizing it, we've been conditioned into the patriarchy. We've been conditioned and colonized with this way of being in the world, which is all about doing, which is all about pushing, which is all about striving, which is all about competition, which is about scarcity, which is about being the best. And it doesn't serve us. But it's not easy, or not necessarily easy, to actually release. For me, there's 3 parts really to actually claiming our power. And I want to offer to you today, in this feeling of density and darkness in the world, that you claiming your power is the most important thing that you can do. You stepping fully into your power as a woman or as a man, but as a balanced human being, centered, at ease, receptive. This is the most powerful thing that you can do right now. And it is the thing that you can do that will actually contribute to the healing of the planet and to the ending of this kind of violence, the ending of this kind of turmoil, because the way that we will create peace in the world is by each of us becoming peace. Not by us trying to march and fight. We can't fight our way to peace. It doesn't work. We have to become peace. And we become it by embracing all the parts of ourselves, and we become it by really reclaiming our power. And so for me, there's really 3 stages to pulling in our power. And this is something that we go deep into in my program, the Creatrix Codes. It's really the pillar of everything that I teach. But the Creatrix Codes is somewhere where really everything that we do, every code in that, is around one of these pillars. So the pillars really are this. The first one is remembering. We have to remember who we are. We have to recollect and reawaken to the truth of our essence. And we have been disconnected from this for thousands of years. We have lived in societies that have told us we can't trust our intuition. We have lived in societies where we've been told that we're not powerful. We have lived in societies where we've experienced that, where we've experienced oppression, where we've experienced violence, where we've experienced not being able to live in our power. But now this moment is inviting you to remember and recollect. And the truth is, you are powerful beyond anything that you could imagine. You are a spiritual being. You are a spirit. You are a soul. And this part of you is limitless. And you've chosen to incarnate in this human body, but you are still connected to this limitless nature, this unified field of everything that is. And as part of that field, you have massive power. Most of us have been disconnected from this. We don't realize the power we have. We feel powerless in our own lives. We feel frustrated. We feel stuck. We feel like, what's wrong with me? There is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You do not need to be fixed. You are already whole. You are already worthy. And when you remember this, you just tap into that power. There's nothing to fix. There's nothing to change in you. You don't need to be a better person. You're already limitless. That means limitless. That means everything. So remembering who you are, reawakening to your true power. This is the first step. Now the second pillar, and these aren't actually, when I said the first step, this isn't a linear journey. This isn't like, first I remember who I am and now I go to the next step. This is a spiral. This is something that they fold in on themselves. But the second part of this, the second pillar, is to heal. Now, I did say that you're not broken. There's nothing that needs fixed, and this is true. But most of us are carrying wounds from the conditioning of the past. These wounds take different forms. Some of them are ones we have inherited from our families. They've been passed down genetically through our ancestors. Some of these wounds will be coming from our coding as souls, from different lives that we have lived. So there's different kinds of wounds, and some of the wounds will have come from our own lives, from this very incarnation, from ways that we've been treated, from ways that we have treated ourselves. So we have different wounds that we are carrying, and we will never be in our full power until we heal, transform, alchemize, and release these wounds. And we are capable of doing this. I'm absolutely fascinated, as I say, I'm from Scotland originally, by the imprint for, I think, all European women of the witch trials. I mean, for over 300 years, all across Europe, women were tortured and executed for being women. And really, that's what they were. They weren't witches. These women, and it's believed up to 5 million women were killed over these years. But they were not killed for being witches, they were killed for being women. Now, I think that everyone who has a European ancestry is carrying that wound in some way, because what we know from epigenetics, and this is really through people studying actually the survivors of the Holocaust, we have found that DNA is altered by trauma. And so if somebody goes through trauma of like Holocaust, that alters their DNA. It alters their genetic structure, and that is passed on to their children. So even though the children didn't actually experience that trauma themselves, they are imprinted with it energetically and in their DNA. So if you imagine going into Europe and the witch trials, we have 300 years of women being tortured and murdered in town squares. And it's hard to imagine really the impact that this has had on us. Women would be teaching their daughters, stay small. Don't let your voice be heard. Don't stand out too much. Don't want too much. Don't be seen. Don't hang around with other women. All these things could get you killed, get you pointed out as a witch and murdered. So stay safe and do it this way. Not even going into the trauma of women who were tortured or witnessed their sisters or their mothers being tortured. And so if you imagine, this wasn't just one generation of women. When you talk about 300 years and you talk about the average life expectancy being 40 years, I mean, you're talking about at least 10 generations of women. And then we wonder as women today why we feel small, why we feel afraid to let our voices be heard. It's because you're carrying this wound. And there are many wounds like this that we have been programmed with, that we have been conditioned with, but the great news is we can heal them. And this isn't about fixing things. You're not broken, but you are probably carrying some wounds from the past. And you can heal them and release them and transform them and alchemize them. And this is a beautiful and incredible thing to do. And it's part of why you're here right now. Now, the third pillar to really reclaiming your power is the pillar of becoming. And this is that pillar where we actually unhinge ourselves from the past and instead look forward to the future and what it is that we desire. And we can do this on a personal level about what we want for ourselves. I mean, we can be like, okay, this is the kind of life I want. I want to earn this much money. I want to live in this kind of place. I want to have this kind of relationship. I want to have this kind of impact. This is how I want to spend my days. And this is such important work to do. This is the becoming work, like really envisaging this future and then doing the work of becoming that person who gets to live that life. But we also can do this collectively. Like, what is the world that we desire to live in? Where are we going? What is it that we want to unfold on this beautiful planet that we call home? Too many of us allow our brains to be bombarded with negativity, with fear, with movies that put in these visions of a dystopian future, of apocalypse and so forth. And it's like, you're contributing then to that image of where we're heading. And to be honest, I feel like the world hangs in a balance. It's not a given. It's never a given of which future we activate and we move into. There are possible futures for our planet that are very bleak and dark indeed. But it's down to us. What do we want to become? What do we want our world to be? What are we choosing? And it is up to us to choose deliberately and consciously and then hold ourselves accountable to those standards, to those boundaries, to those behaviors that would actually contribute to creating that world that we dream of. So these three pillars I see as the keys to activating your personal power so that you can contribute to light in this world. And just to recap, those pillars are first remembering and reconnecting with who you are, reconnecting with your wisdom, with your intuition, with your gnosis. The second pillar is healing. It's transmuting, it's alchemizing. And this is where we allow ourselves to become aware of wounds that we are carrying. It may also be becoming aware of habits that we have developed to protect ourselves, to help ourselves survive, that are not serving us. And then the third aspect of coming into our full power is the becoming aspect. And that's where we really dream about what we want for the future, for ourselves and for the world. And then we commit to becoming the person that can allow that to happen. The world needs you now to step up. This is not a time for us to be playing small, to be hiding. And I know sometimes when things are terrible in the world, we just want to crawl under a rock. But I want to offer you today that the biggest service that you can be to the world is to choose to claim your power. And it is step fully into it and then to be the light that you were born to be. You have a role to play. Each of us does. There is something coming through you right now. There is something that you need to share with the world. And what I want to come here today to say to you is it's time for you to step up and say it. It's time for you to do that work of remembering who you are. It's time for you to do that work of healing whatever needs to be healed. Surrendering what doesn't serve you because it doesn't serve the world either. And it's time for you to become the person, the highest version of yourself, so that you can really be of service to the world and you can really be a light that helps us transcend and ascend into more light on this planet and not into more darkness. So on Saturday, I'm going to be hosting the first in 3 sessions. It's a free live experience called Your Dream Come True. And what my desire is with this is to help you just really activate and anchor in your dreams, your vision, and your path to actually making them happen. It's going to be an extraordinary experience. If you've been to one of my live things before, you know I bring it all. It's not, pitched to get you into something. It is total value. I don't really plan the free things any differently than I would plan something that is a paid experience. So please don't miss it. You can sign up at dianebell.com/dream. There is also a giveaway because in just less than 2 weeks, I'm going to be opening the doors to the AIM Academy. The AIM Academy is my program to teach you how to master the art of intentional manifestation. And this is the art of creating epic results in your life through energetics, through harnessing your inner power. So if this is interesting to you, and honestly, this program is incredible. It's a 10-week program. It's not about theory. It's not about learning a lot of information, because I think for so many people, that's the problem. We think we know about manifestation and the law of attraction, and we know all the things, and yet still somehow we're not creating the results that we want in our lives. And it's because we're not embodying it. So this program is really designed to help you embody it. Every week there's a different energy center, different power center that we work with, and you are activated in that center, and you are given the tools to actually integrate the knowledge into that area so that it's not theory and it's not just academic, but you're living it, you're experiencing it, and that's the difference. So that's the AIM Academy, and I'm going to open registration for it on the 23rd of October. So mark your calendar if you're wanting to get into it. But also, I am offering a giveaway. One lucky listener is going to receive admission to the Academy as their prize. And they're actually getting the VIP package, and all the details are coming out soon about that. And they will get the VIP package to the AIM Academy. And they will also receive $500. So if that sounds exciting to you and you're like, I would like to manifest a place in the Academy that's going to be worth $1,997 and $500 cash, how fun would that be? Get over to my Instagram page. It's at aimfromtheheart1, and you will find a post there that says, would you like to manifest $500? Go to that post, and you will find instructions on how to enter the giveaway. And heads up, so far not that many people have entered it. So you've got a really, really good chance of actually snagging that prize that's worth $2,500. So check it out, and you'll find out all the details in that post. So go to at aimfromtheheart1 on Instagram, and you can get into that. All right, my loves, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sending you so much love. I'm sending you so much light. Stay in the energy of the light. Do the work. You need to get in your power. We need to stay in our power. We need to help this planet get into its light. So the mission is on. I love you so much, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast today. If you enjoyed it, could you do me a favor? Please leave it a little review wherever you're listening to it, or screenshot it and share it on your social media and tag me so I can see it. I would be so appreciative. Thanks so much. I love you, and I'll see you soon.